allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will we have the adoption of the agenda and consent agenda as the order of business, which has been taken off that anybody would like to discuss separately? Do we have a motion?
I move we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Then let's approve the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes from the January 19th board meeting, from the financial report from July 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2021, and the bills for the period of January 1st, 2021 through January 31st, 2021 in the amount of $2,552,247.16. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Brings us down to board and district leadership team strategic planning, our legislative update. Superintendent Dan Miller.
Yes, we met with our legislators this Monday morning and had a good discussion. The second round of funding from the federal government called ESSER, there was the first round ESSER 1 and now there's ESSER 2. It was signed in the previous federal administration, and so that money is earmarked for the states and is being will be distributed by by the DPI and by the legislature upcoming. And so we had a discussion with our legislators about that process and our advocacy for streamlining that process and making sure that the funds were distributed in what we thought was an equitable fashion and those types of things. There was a change at the end with the Joint Finance Committee taking part of the funding for 174 districts in the state, of which we're one, that we are, of the original pot of money coming from the feds, we are going to be getting less of that. But with that withholding that they did, that money will be able to be reapplied for by any districts that had face-to-face or in-person learning or intend to implement it in the upcoming year. And so at the end of the sequence of time that this is going through, which is 2022, we will be able to apply for some of that money, and hopefully, because we were mostly in person the entire time, I would assume we would be, I don't know if it'll be apples to apples, but we should be okay, whereas a district like Sheboygan, who was out quite a bit more in a virtual setting, would have less access to that funding. So we had a long debate and discussion about the details of that, because I think sometimes the bill or the motion is made to just do something and the details aren't clearly thought out, and there are a lot of details in this about how the accounting for hours of instruction are going to be done that is going to be very time consuming for us, and we would have preferred it just to have been more of a lump sum thing. However, we're still not going to be hurt severely because we were in person for the most part. So that was the major portion of our conversation and our advocacy. And then they also mentioned that along with the state superintendent primary today, there was also the governor's budget should be coming out today. I didn't see if it was out yet, but the joint finance and the legislature will take a look at his budget, and then they start comparing and looking for similarities and looking for, they say that they'd like to work together with him, so hopefully they can do that, and that would expedite the process so we could understand where we stand as a district earlier than later. That hasn't happened recently, and so hopefully it would happen this time. And the Fiscal Bureau did indicate that the taxes and collections statewide are still looking almost like a normal year. They're not seeing a major drop, so I think that is bodes well for the school districts and our district, and other things like infrastructure that they were mentioning, that they were talking about. So just a brief update. Any questions or?
What was there about us and the other 173 districts that they felt the need to withhold?
It had to do with the funding of Title I. Title I is for, is based on a formula related to free and reduced price lunch, so students near or in poverty. And so it had to do with a formula related to the percentage of students in your district that were in certain categories of poverty.
So are we a higher poverty or a lower poverty area than the others?
Quite frankly, the Representative Kansma, we were trying to ascertain that, and he could not explain it about how the formula happened. I think it's because we've crossed the threshold of having enough students in that level. I think that is where it came from.
So the idea is that because we're maybe getting funds from free and reduced lunch students in another federal program, that they thought we shouldn't get the full amount?
I think that there was only a certain amount that the legislature could grab hold of. By law, 90% had to be distributed by the federal government as it indicated. There was a small portion that the state could have control of, and the Joint Finance Committee had the capability to grab some of that, and they wanted to incentivize or reward or punish, depending how you look at it, schools that were not in face-to-face, or schools that had face-to-face instruction were to be incentivized or rewarded. There's a lot of the details, I think, that they need to hash out yet.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know, we've been in face-to-face, probably more than most, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Is this anything that would be good for us to communicate with our legislators about? Is it a done deal? Is there something that could change here?
I think, well, it sounded to me like it's a done deal. That money is, they're taking it, and it will be distributed once we've determined our hours of in-person instruction. I mean, we could come out ahead, depending on what that formula looks like, because we had so many hours of instruction in person. I don't know that. I think if you sat through that webinar that just happened a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's any clearer to you now, or if it's still a little bit muddy.
It's still muddy. It's basically what Dan said, that it's pretty much a done deal. And we won't be able to report our minutes of instruction till maybe March or April. They don't expect the funds to be distributed, this portion of the funds to be distributed until fall, perhaps even early next year. So I think there's going to be a lot of things, like you said, to hash out, a lot of reporting to go through and data to collect before anything is done.
No, these are federal funds that are specifically to help school districts because of COVID-related issues?
Correct. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. That's important to note.
So that money is up and above what we typically would get from the federal government.
Yeah, this is completely different and new money just for this short time period. It's like a grant, really.
Any idea how much we're talking about?
Yeah, somewhere in the neighborhood of the upper 600,000s over a 2-year period.
Yeah, it's through 2023. Your expenses that you, up through 2023 are eligible for these funds.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Community connections through career and technology education, and Dina Boudreau, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction.
Thanks. So February is Career and Technology Education Month, and I thought it would be a great way to share. I know we've shared in the past, but I wanted to collaboratively work with our middle school and our high school career and technology education teachers, and they put together a presentation on all of the different ways that, number one, we're comprehensive, but also how they address our pillars. So when we look at our academic pillar, our extracurricular pillar, and then finally our community engagement pillar. So I have a little activity for you tonight. You should have a little card, a little Post-it note size card, and a Sharpie. Just like this. So what I would like you to do is you watch the video, you sort of kick back and relax, just either tally or dot anytime you see or hear a connection to our pillars, our community connections, comprehensive, because I'd like you just to see in this short video a visual to how many times we really do connect in just these few classes that we have within our district, and how those people truly support our pillars. So, you can relax and watch a video with a little job.
Do you want me to hit the lights?
Are online people able to see this as well?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Try the one on the closest to you might do. That'd be good.
We can see it, Kurt. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ethan Rao. And I'm Dana Hanson. We are 6th grade tech ed, and we are working on VEX IQ robotics.
There's a weight.
Agriculture program focuses on providing our students with opportunities that allow them to experience many different agricultural careers, as well as learn skills that will help them be both college and career ready. We partner with several local businesses such as Restoration Gardens, Sartori Cheese, CP Feeds, Country Visions Cooperative, St. Anna Vet Clinic, Dairy Doctors, and LTC to not only align our curriculum with industry standards, but also allow our students to network and build connections with people in various agricultural industries within our community. In addition, we have hosted LTC horticulture students to work with our students to provide opportunities their program currently doesn't offer. The Plymouth FFA focuses on helping our members grow into premier leaders that are successful in whatever career they choose. Members have the opportunity to compete in speaking contests, career development events, proficiencies, and the Agri Science Fair. We've had several members participate and succeed at the national level. We also focus on making a positive difference in the lives of others through our many community service activities.
With a recent renovation, valued at over $40 million, Plymouth has world-class facilities and classrooms for students to succeed. Here at Plymouth, our mission is to encourage everyone to see and be his or her personal best through successful learning experiences. We pride ourselves upon the wealth of different electives offered and the postgraduate success of our students. To learn more about what it's like being a Panther, head over to our district website and go to the Why Plymouth tab and explore with the quick links provided to give yourself a better idea. Also on the district page is a full list of the 70+ extracurricular activities that Plymouth has to offer. For now, here are some of the sports and clubs Plymouth offers. Outside of extracurriculars, Plymouth has a wide range of opportunities for all students. Whether their interest is in performing arts, tech ed, or even agriculture, Plymouth has all the best resources for students to prosper. But Plymouth doesn't stop there. We have state-of-the-art classrooms where our students are able to achieve academic excellence to succeed in any career pathway they might choose after high school. So here's a toast to Plymouth High School. To Plymouth, good and true. Here's a toast to Plymouth High School. We raise our heads to you through rah-rah. Ever may our hearts be loyal. So proud of here we stand. Here's a toast to Plymouth High School. It's the best school in the land.
So this last video was created by some of our FBLA students who just had it in their competition and it made it to the next level. I just thought it was a nice way to finish up to show how their different courses have provided them with the skill sets to create something that I think could easily be used to market our school district. Do you have any questions? Did you have a lot of dots on your, I see there's lots of dots. People are organized. I'm a messy dotter. Any thoughts on that at all?
Is there like a marketing plan with those videos, or what's the idea of using them?
It was just more or less to educate our public, especially the board, just to show that, CTE, our career and technical education classes, play a very important role in educating our students. I think it can definitely be used within their programs to promote themselves and hopefully pull in more kids, but I think it could be something that we could highlight on our district webpage to show all of the different amazing features that we have and options that we have for our students.
You used the word comprehensive earlier, and that's a great picture of that.
Yeah.
I like the way it was put together, and I like the ending of it with our new facility there. And the way that it was taken, obviously with the drone, and from the outside of it also. Very, very well done, but yeah, I have lots of dots.
Good. That was the goal, that you realized how often our pillars are really truly integrated every day into our students' learning. And especially starting at that middle school age, and how those classes, you know, from our culinary to the tech ed classes, really do lay the foundation to helping students, exposing them to a variety of different career pathways for them. And a lot of those skills are life ready. When we talk about preparing our students for career, college, and life ready, these are those skill sets that allow them to do just that and make those, just, you know, help them make informed decisions. What are the best pathways for them?
A lot of neat programs, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
I really liked in the culinary area, there were at least two individuals that are come through our programs here that are now working in the various restaurant places in our community. They were mentioned there.
Yeah, and I think many of our teachers have really made a great effort to connect and to stay connected with our alumni, to pull them back in and have those mentors and models for our students of what the possibilities are for them in their future.
I think an additional point to this, not additional, Dean brought it up earlier. In each of our pillars, in the future states that you've approved, we've highlighted a more determined emphasis in connecting to the community, both us connecting outward and the community connecting in. And so I thought this really highlighted the fact that we're already, we have a long history and a tradition of connecting and making pathways and connections for the kids here. But the fact that we're making this yet again a priority so that we're strategic and focused on it, I think is a good thing. We have a very solid foundation to build on. And every time we get kids to connect and community members to connect back in with our school district, just makes the entire community stronger, provides pathways for kids to get into a field or get some experiences that they otherwise might not. So that whole connecting with the community is really highlighted well, I thought, in the video.
And even during a pandemic, when we find ourselves so separated and segregated in many ways, we still have those strong relationships that we're still learning and growing with each other. I think it's great.
So this you will put on the website for?
We can, definitely. It was just, I reached out and I asked each of them to do a 1-minute video, which when you have a lot to share, that's pretty hard to do. So the videos were a little bit longer than 1 minute per group or per teacher, but I think we can definitely share that out to show, with the CTE month, that might be a great idea to put it on the website. Definitely.
Same with like Facebook and things, as we're posting stuff there, I think it's good for parents, community members to understand that it's more holistic than just school.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, people giggle when they hear comprehensive. Our kids will even do that. But this just shows truly what a comprehensive high school is about. It's not just your math, reading, science. It's truly encompassing all of those skills and putting them into those career and college ready courses that help us prepare for life. Thank you.
Comments? Thank you very much. Let's go to item number 6, which is the education COVID update and revisions. And Dan and Dina both together on this one.
Yes, every month we have the education COVID update and the opportunity to make revisions to our education plan during the pandemic. As situations and data change internally, we've made some revisions as we've gone along. And so just in terms of where we are with COVID right now, we are in the single digits of both faculty, or not faculty, but staff and students that are positive. I believe we're down to 2 currently. And also we are under 10 with any kind of quarantine situations currently in the district. So we've been trending down, we've been staying at a low level for quite a while, so things have been looking very, very positive. And so our revision request will be based on that a little bit. And there was a request in the committee of the whole, kind of wondering about the percentages of students that had been positive or staff that have been positive in the district so far. And since the beginning of the pandemic, we have 13% of our staff have tested positive. At PHS, we've had all around these numbers, 10% of the students have tested positive. At Riverview, we've had 7% of the students have tested positive. And at the elementary, 3% of the students have tested positive. Those are rounded figures. So just as an idea, I think it goes right along with the data from public health, the data that I see in studies. The older you get, the more likely you are to actually, pick up the virus. Our numbers reflect it, and so that was just a request of it. But still, that is a fairly moderate percentage. The quarantine numbers I didn't put in there because obviously they're much higher, but the request was about the total positive cases. But as I said, since Christmas, it's been dropping and it's been low now for quite some time. And so we had begun a discussion talking about putting some language into our reopening plan. I passed a handout around both sides. One side is talking about high school learning options and the other side has extracurricular. We'd like to ask for you to approve a revision to that, which just is some language that allows us the flexibility if we are able to see numbers continuing in this fashion, if it makes sense for students, if it makes sense for our educational program to have some flexibility to bring additional students back into the high school. That's one of them, and I'll read that in a second. The other one is, we had noticed, that just going back through it again, that our extracurricular reopening information only talked about fall. We hadn't updated it since then. So we've obviously continued extracurriculars into winter. We're almost finished with those, and we intend to continue with that into spring. So we just make a change there. So in the high school, the language that we're talking about that's new is indicated on the bottom part of the slide there. And that language is that the district may allow individual students, grade bands, or the entire student body to attend everyday in-person learning based on internal mitigation data and/or student need. That would give us the flexibility to bring in students based on their need, based on programmatically what we're trying to get done, whether it be individuals, entire grades, or maybe even the entire student body as the school year gets near to summer. So I would mention also that based on student need already, there have been students that have been brought back, which I've mentioned in the past, and so we do have students that attend every day currently already, and that's almost based entirely on need. If we were going to bring in more students, maybe a grade band or the entire student body, that would be something that we would discuss later. I'll also mention that the high school and the team that developed our entire approach, which has allowed us to get this far without a major shutdown or incident, is working diligently on options for bringing students back in. And so looking at the data and looking at room sizes and numbers and mitigation possibilities and all of that. So that would be the language on the high school side of the AB Day schedule. Any questions or considerations about that language?
When you say grade bands, you mean like freshmen or?
Yes, sorry, yep.
And the internal data, that's not saying what's going on in the state or what's going on countywide, that's kind of like what's going on in the schools.
Correct. Our nurses track our data every single day, and we've got trend lines and numbers of cases and percentages, and we're watching that all the time. And so part of my presentation earlier was based on their daily reports.
Dan, do you need a motion on this?
I'll talk about the second side, and then we'll make a motion on both.
Okay, yeah, because I'd love to have all the kids in all day, every day, you know. And I know that here at the high school, we did every other day, but, so I'm definitely in favor of you bringing as many kids back as possible.
Right, and this language gives us the flexibility to dig into that and see how something like that could happen, if it makes good sense for everybody. And then the extracurricular one in the back, I noted that fall was written in there, so we just scratched out fall. So fall will just disappear from that, and will just apply to all extracurriculars. So then, other questions, or we just would need a motion to approve that language?
So this would be our stated policy moving forward, starting tomorrow?
This would be the reopening plan, which just is our parameters for functioning in this year of the pandemic.
Okay. And then if a student or parents want a high schooler to go back, starting whatever, next week, Monday, is there a pathway to do that, or what does that look like?
That's going to be based on student need currently. We're not encouraging everybody to
Run back?
Run back right now, correct. We are in the process of developing a more comprehensive pathway for larger groups to come back.
So I'm just wondering, if there's a lot of people going to have questions about that once they hear that we're contemplating it, or if it might be allowed. Is there going to be a rush? Is there going to be a lot of questions? Should we give them guidance?
Yeah, we were talking about that building up to this. We're going to be producing a survey and sending it out to all high school staff, or high school parents and families, which will indicate this as a potential option in the future. It'll have some information about it and questions about certain preferences that they have coming back in. So that'll help guide our path a little bit too. And it will give, part of it will be informational, part of it for families, part of it will be informational for us too.
When do you think that survey's coming out?
And it'll probably be out by the end of, I would guess, next week.
Well, I'm certainly in favor of the flexibility for the administration. Has done good jobs to this point, and the more flexibility we can provide for that, it served us well. And I think the original plan had enough flexibility built into it that it's able to get us to this point. Compare that to other school districts that didn't have that flexibility. And I think that caught behind some things. So personally, I'm in favor of it. Do we have a motion to approve the language?
So moved.
Second?
I just have one, and this is so stupid and small. I'm assuming you also meant to strike the word fall from the middle school activities?
I saw Amy pointing that out.
Amy pointed that out, yes, because Dan and I obviously both missed that today. So yes, we will also, we'll delete the F and make it all for middle school as well. Thank you.
Sure.
We have a motion and a second, and the correction of the fall to all. So all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. That brings us to Finance, Buildings, and Grounds and a Facilities Subcommittee update. Bob Travis texted us and said he was either going to be late or not make it, which it looks like he's not going to make it. Dan, do you have anything to tell us about that?
We,
Actually, yes,
Oh,
Sally was
I'm
our
sorry.
juicer.
There was part of that meeting.
we did meet last week with the facility committee, and everything is coming along. It's not totally done yet. We are in the warranty stage of some things right now. It's nice because we don't just have a 1-year warranty, but we have 2 years once a certain project is completed. And so they keeping track of when things get completed, so they know how long they have to have things under warranty. We also talked about things that we pulled from the referendum, and there is some money left over at this point. So we're talking about which of these items to take care of that we had to pull out in case we didn't have enough money. But now that we're coming to completion and having some money left over, we have this list, if you guys want to take a look at it. We also had the operation and maintenance list presented of things that each school would like to have done, that needs to be upgraded, things that need to change. And of course, not everything's going to be done in the first year. It'll be a few years getting at them. And they were rated, so 1, 2, and 3. Number 1s are more important and need to get done right away, and then on down for the 2 and 3. And it's quite a list, so if anybody wants to donate to maintenance at the high school. So, any questions?
What are the items that were pulled off the referendum list that are looking like they'll be done?
Yeah. Condensing boiler at the high school, which will get rid of the moisture at the south end. So, and Dan can explain that probably a little bit more. The high school storage and wrestling area over at Fairview, landscaping, playground, Parkview and outdoor garage, science FF&E, and then Parkview, Fairview, and PHS for the FF&E. The high school patio outside of the cafeteria area, that is cemented, but there's no furniture out there. And then there's a option, a kitchen door that they did not put in the referendum. You want to explain that one?
Yeah, there's 2 doorways there's a doorway into the kitchen, and there used to be a doorway into what was the old staff room, and somewhere in the translation there was supposed to be a doorway back into the old staff room, which is now the dishwashing room for transferring of food through that area. And so it works the way it is, but it would be nicer to have that door reinstalled back into that pathway. So that's that one is. The condensing boiler is just another part of our HVAC system, and that actually is something that in the shoulder months of spring and fall, not the hot and humid times, and not the dark, cold of winter, but in those shoulder months, that condensing boiler can run and get the humidity out of the building and that kind of stuff, so you don't have to, you can use it in between the 2 systems that we have here, which are all water-based, and they're either on or off. And so that boiler lets things kind of helps in the interim times, and so it helps with actually with the humidity in the building too. So, and it's also an Energy Star project because it will save quite a bit of energy usage in the building.
Is that why there was some rust on the equipment in the old
correct
facility?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the downstairs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with the heating and the air conditioning here at the high school, you don't turn it on one day and turn it off the next day because the temperature flex. You're not able to do that. Once it's on, and once it's off, like Dan said. So this is where that will help.
It's a big old monster down there in the boiler room.
What's FFE?
Furnishings, equipment. What's the other F?
I think it's fixtures, furnishings, and
Fixtures,
equipment,
furnishings.
something like
It's
that.
things like furniture.
Sure.
Anything, if you tipped the building upside down and shook it, would fall out. That's how I learned it during this process. That's FF&E.
Okay. Are all those things going to get done, or are they just still under consideration?
It's,
Those can all get done.
yeah.
The one option is the door, but to see how all the other things come back. And we think the boiler will be less than what it was quoted as, so, but all those things should be able to get done.
So it's really nice to have the money left over, you know, from the huge referendum that we had, and to be able to get the things that wanted to be done, but we didn't want to overspend. So it's nice to have
the
the
canopy out here will come under regular operation and maintenance then?
Correct.
Any questions?
I'm trying to think what you call it, utilizing alternative energy sources, sustainability. Did that discussed yet? Is that continuing to be discussed? Is that on the list somewhere?
We're going to be, I think we're talking more about that at our next facility meeting in a couple months.
Okay.
We talked at it, not at last week, but the one before it. And now that this is getting more finalized, then let's look to the future.
Other comments or questions? All right, well, thank you, Sally. Appreciate that. Consider gifts and corresponding budget adjustments. Okay.
Oh, there I am. Do we have it? It's reading it. Here we go. All right. So we have a donation of $1,484.46 from Plymouth Education Foundation for flex seating at Riverview Middle School. We have a donation of $231.37 from Parkview Elementary School. From the PTK for transportation to Spikers Pumpkin Farm. We have a donation of $1,092 from Sargento Foods to the Plymouth School District. We have an increase in revenue and expenditure accounts in Fund 21 in the amount of $1,484.46. And we have an increase in both revenue and expenditure accounts in Fund 21 in the amount of $231.37. The increase in both revenue and expenditure accounts in Fund 21 in the amount of $1,092.00.
Is the donation from Sargento Foods that part of the United Way program?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, do we have a motion to approve these gifts, accept these gifts and approve the budget adjustments?
Make a motion that we accept them, and thank you to each one that has done this.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Say no.
And Dan, can you explain flex seating at Riverview?
Yeah, flex seating is seating that is not traditional chairs and tables. Flexible seating are things like movable, rockable, bounceable chairs, stand-up
Oh, so
desks.
this is in classroom?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, things that students have an option of a way to learn and still be able to move a little bit or be in a position that makes them more comfortable.
I think the Education Foundation funded kind of like a trial of that a few years ago.
Yep. Correct.
That's awesome.
Okay, nobody signed in on public participation. The board liaison reports, community ed, Sally, what's going on there?
If you go to the website, you will find out that Community Ed does have classes. They have a nutrition and health class coming up soon. I know one's tonight, one's in a week or two. We have water classes available, exercise classes, there's walking available. So come on out and enjoy what we have to offer. Any questions?
Thank you. Bob is not here for the foundation. Dan, is there anything that you can share about that?
I think Bob would want to mention that the scholarship season is beginning its full swing, so the team at the PEF will be organizing and collecting the applications from students, and we'll be getting that going for scholarships. Also, I'm sure you would like to mention that the mini grant and big grant programs for the school district are still available, and if people have ideas and want to apply for a mini or a large grant, they are accepting them and vetting them as they come in.
Okay. But Dan, what's going on in the Family Resource Center?
Sure, I've got a few updates. The Parents as Teachers program, there's 76 families that are currently enrolled, with an additional 10 that have been assigned to parent educators but not yet enrolled. There are 9 families currently on the wait list. Virtual group connections continue each month. The Parenting, the Love and Logic Way series is offered virtually in March now. Virtual child development screening event is now March 4th and 5th. From the Literacy Council, a virtual tutor training will be offered in March. Currently 9 prospective tutors will participate. Develop process to evaluate students virtually, and have been able to evaluate a few students successfully through that process. There are currently 37 active tutor pairs. 4 new student tutor pairs will be matched soon. Sending off Chromebooks that are now being rented and allow access to technology. And the citizenships class are being taught at LTC through their safety protocols. What?
What's the time commitment for a tutor, like a literacy tutor? Do you have any idea?
Some of them have been doing this for a long time, I know, like 5-6 years.
I mean, like, is it a...
Oh, so many hours.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
It varies depending on the needs of the person being tutored. It's usually 1 to 2 hours a week.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Personnel. We have some things to approve and some things to be updated on.
Yes, one thing I was thinking, do you mind going back to the facilities report just for 1 second?
Oh, go ahead.
There was one other item that did come up during the facilities discussion that we had that Katrina reminded me about, which is every summer we use some of our remaining funds in the District Fund 10 to work on a project, pick some of those maintenance types of items off, like the windows at Horizon are a recent example. Well, this summer there's some needed work at the middle school on the roof.
Yeah.
And so we worked that through the facilities, and so we're going to propose to use that some of our money to fix the roof at Riverview. So just wanted to mention that before we moved on.
Okay, thank you.
And then, so into personnel. The first one is the board will consider the approval of the retirement request from John Mather, principal of Parkview Elementary School, effective the end of 2020-21 school year. John's been with the school district for 17 years. So I would just like to mention that John has done wonderful work at Parkview, and he's extremely well regarded by his staff and is well loved by families, and Parkview is a wonderful school to be at, and a lot of the goodwill and feelings at Parkview come right through from John through the staff, and his leadership there has been fantastic over the years. The next one is the board will consider the approval of the retirement request for Gail Litt, culinary arts and food science teacher for the Plymouth High School, effective at the end of this school year. Gail's been with the school district for 14 years. Gail has been instrumental in our Pro Start program, the culinary arts program, which was just highlighted on the video earlier. She was one of the founders after her hire 14 years ago of that entire process, and we've got a long litany of students who are professionals in the culinary world due to her work and really her care for people, which she really does. So I'm going to make that mention. The board will consider approval for the resignation of Meredith Herrera, mathematics and English language teacher at Plymouth High School, effective at the end of 2020-21 school year. Meredith has been with the school district for 7 years, and again, Meredith will be greatly missed.
Okay. These we need to approve. We have a motion and a second.
So,
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Say no. What would happen if we didn't approve them?
that's been asked before.
Earlier this week.
Yeah. And then the support staff updates. We've hired Scarlett Simmons. She's been hired as a special education aide at Fairview Elementary School. Frances Wenzel has been hired as a special education aide at Fairview Elementary School. And Deborah Wills has submitted her resignation as a special education aide at Fairview Middle School, or Fairview Elementary School. Deborah has served the district for 4 months.
And we don't need to take action on that. So nothing from the consent agenda to consider. So in the president's report, I had intended to focus on the word comprehensive, and we just saw that displayed in a big way. Comprehensive is one of our 4 values in our school district, and we are now in the season of, school choices. It's the big season of school choice, although that happens all year round. But it's something that parents should consider, and we as school board members should be focusing in on, is the fact that it's the name, the middle name of our high school. It's not named by name in our future states of the academic excellence, but it's there. And we had a robust discussion about a year and 5 months ago as a school board about comprehensive. And from the academic side, I think we looked at it and said it's an opportunity. It was the big word for students to explore. Career pathways has been played out before us, and interests, in so many areas. I think what stimulated my talking about this was an article that Jamie Poinkowski, our communications coordinator or director, had written about 3 weeks ago that went out in the school newsletter, and this is a big issue here in Plymouth School District. It means a lot to us. We're very committed to it, and the advantages to a family that's considering where they want to send their kids to school. We do that. Well, I'll step out on a limb and say we do that as good or better than anybody else in this area, because we really believe in it, and it's a place where people would want their kids to go. Another part of that discussion we had focused on the word inclusiveness, and I think we saw it not just as opportunities for kids, but equivalent fanfare and importance to all opportunities, and recognizing the different emotional, learning, disability needs. We want to include that, and not just that, but as has been mentioned, the entire community, through community education programs, mentoring, volunteering, faith-based connections, senior adult and student connections. That's important to us, and even the inclusion of our staff. I think our professional development, what was labeled, I think you might have coined the term educational entrepreneurship, the opportunity for them to participate in leadership and in decision making, and saying let's try this. So we value comprehensive education in the Plymouth School District. It's one of our 4 values, and even to the point it went to our reopening plan, is what I think Jamie explained in her article, and that's probably what I found the most interesting, is we could have had this. We had choice. But the one way would have left out all of the opportunities, all of the electives, I think is what we call it on our coursework. And it was decided that we really wanted to provide the full, robust opportunities, and it's brought about a lot of creativity to maintain that and keep that going. But you know, it's a big reason why we selected the options we did in the high school program. So all that to say, to those who may be seeing this online, Plymouth is a place you want to be because of the comprehensive nature of and the value we place on that. And to us as school board members in our conversations, when you're talking with other families, you can say, we're comprehensive is a reason why you want your kids in our school district. So I had prepared some thoughts about that prior to this, and it's sort of been what the whole meeting is. It's kind of like I discovered about professional development, you know. It's just in our DNA. It's everywhere you're looking for in the school district. So those are my thoughts. Great. Dan, you have a...
Yeah, well, thank you. That kind of flows right into what I was wanting to mention tonight, because what I was going to mention tonight was just because over the last couple of days I've had a couple of interactions with people where the community, they've said to us that they're proud of what we do here, and particularly they're proud of what we have done in this year, and for some different reasons. In this year of COVID and limited everything, they're proud. And so I'll tell you the first story is we're out shoveling, and one of my neighbors across the road and was saying, yeah, you know, it's been just such a tough year, and we were just with our friends the other day, and we were just saying how proud we are of the school district for what they've done. And so he said, and he works at Johnsonville, and his wife works as in healthcare. They have a small child, and some of their friends are similarly aged and have small children. And he mentioned Johnsonville has had their best sales year in history. His wife was never had to miss any time for her healthcare work, which really helps everybody else here. And so it's like this big ecosystem where we're all working together, making decisions together for the benefit of everybody, the kids, the parents, our local communities, our companies. And so that was just one example. And then there was another example that was brought up from, there was a former employee who's now retired and has grandchildren in the district, and she's just so proud of the fact that her grandchildren got to stay in school the entire time and had those opportunities when some other kids maybe didn't. And again, you've got parents there who need to work, and we don't want to put people at risk so that parents need to work, but we're able to do it and mitigate. You can see the data that we have. We're able to do it. We had school. We were able to do all that. And a lot of it has to do with everybody working together. The board, with your leadership and allowing flexibility in the language of our reopening plan. It's just a today example. But it's parents being willing to give us feedback and maybe a little bit of grace once in a while as we're beginning a program that we've never done before, and trying to make it work and make it better, and us reaching out and getting more information from parents. And it's our teachers and our staff and the administrators and the whole ecosystem of people that make up the functioning of this school district are the people that have made this happen. And so in the discussion that I had with my neighbor, well, because of you too. I mean, we're able to do this because you allowed us to. I mean, there are districts where people were, flooding into boardrooms and demanding this, or people flooding into boardrooms and demanding the exact opposite. And it's a time in history where it seems like no matter which decision is made, there's a backlash of anger on another side, and that didn't happen here. And I think that's because we're proud of each other, and we're working together, and we're giving grace and understanding each other. So I just thought that was a couple of interesting anecdotes that just point out what a great place, not just the school district is, but the entire community. So I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to be living here and working here for 1 year longer so far than John Mather, who just retired.
Thank you, Dan. That's a very encouraging report. Oh, you're not done yet.
I'm not done yet. Yep. So we've got a couple of student and staff, we always have a lot of student and staff accomplishments. There are many, many more than this, but just a couple highlighted. Grace Lambert, an 8th grader at Riverview, has won the Building Bee, which is the entry to the regional, and is moving on to the Badger State Spelling Bee competition. This year, the Badger State Spelling Bee will be administered virtually, of course. The State Spelling Bee will take place Saturday, March 20th, and then more information is coming. At the elementary school, a staff accomplishment, this is just an example, but library media specialist Karen Bennett, during summer and during her time, has created a litany, an entire set of mini lessons that teachers can use and grab very quickly, that are her recordings, her information that they give to kids when they're doing maybe a side-by-side read with another student to learn where they are. They can get kids into Mrs. Bennett's little mini lessons about phonics or about reading, and the kids can do that, and they know they're going to be engaged, and they're right in with her on the recorded virtual setting. But she's got enough of them so that the entire school can basically do their reading work with other students, and have the other kids really engaged in something that they need, and they're things that the kids need. The teachers know exactly what to grab and give them. So just thought, shout out to Karen. I mean, he's making her do this above and beyond work, but it's just something that she saw the need to do, and it's wonderful. The boys at the high school, the boys swim team placed 8th overall at state. They sent 7 athletes to WIA State Swim and Dive Championships. Jack Steiner, Eddie McConaughey, Forrest Olson, Ansel Olson, Ben Coley, Zeb Schermacher, and Trey Carasas, and they're all in relays. All 4 relays and were top 6 finishes and medaled, and highlighted by the 200 freestyle that finished 2nd overall. So swim team did great. Boys basketball team had a great regular season, finishing 16-4 and winning the ECC conference. That is the first time in, I think it's over 20-something years, that the boys have won back-to-back conference championships. The wrestling team had 3 wrestlers qualify for WIA State, and they were Evan Ladwig, Silas Daly, and Devin Gore. Silas finished 3rd. He's a freshman. Evan finished 4th. He's a senior. And Devin was a 3-time state qualifier. So this is the first time in 15 years that PHS had 2 wrestlers medal at state. Our FBLA, which you saw, the last video was created by, it was one of the projects. They had 71 students participate, and they had 46 students in 26 different events have qualified for the State Leadership Conference coming up in April. The choir students at the high school recently did another virtual rendition of their concert festival ensemble music. If you check it out, it's a lot of high level, the most difficult list they could choose. Most of it is off of that list. So it's learning a foreign language classic solo, English art song solo, a musical theater solo, and they're all off the Class A list. So a lot of wonderful things going on and some great accomplishments. And then some upcoming events. The boys basketball regionals is this weekend. It's the last of the winter sports. And then we have this year there's a gap of time where schools that chose not to have fall sports, there's a window here where they're going to be in, and then our spring sports will start after that. This Monday upcoming, there will be some work on the ACT specific for every child. They've done some work so far, but now every child is getting some specific help and preparation that they need based on their practice in that area. And then, and that's the juniors here at the high school. This Friday, there is a PD day. Professional development's baked into our DNA, as you've said many times, and this Friday will be no different, and, but there will be no school for students. That's all.
Great stuff happening from the school district. So that concludes our agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes.